This podcast is made possible by Dienda CEO, Be Stylish, Ellie-Wear Activewear, and Fix Rehab. Physiotherapy services, move, recover, improve.
In today's episode of the IS podcast, we are currently at a cafe as we celebrate girls as leaders. Girls are agents of change. All over the world, girls are one of the main drivers of progress. They are a key source of transformational change for gender equality. And in order to support their work, activism, and leadership, technology is a critical tool. That is why, according to the United Nations, the theme for this year's aptly named Day of the Girl Child is Digital Generation, Our Generation. This provides a platform for the global community to understand the disadvantages girls face online. And with me is Eliza Margaret Cui Bocareza. She will be our guest and ally as we discuss how challenged us females and young girls are in this age of technology. So hi, Ms. Meg.
Hi, feel free to call me Meg as everyone else does. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. So Ms. Meg, what's keeping you busy right now?
Currently, as we speak, I recently opened my ultimate goal, which is a rehab for physiotherapy services. So I named it Fix Rehab Physiotherapy Services. I also recently released my new collection of Ellie-Wear Activewear. And I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so Ms. Meg, congrats on the opening of your Fix Rehab Physiotherapy Services and the release of your news collection, Ellie-Wear Activewear. Now, what made you venture into these types of businesses and when did you start?
I graduated BS Physical Therapy, and before I pursued the course, I already had it in mind to build my own rehab to, cater to more clients. And I've always wanted to give quality care because I want to treat my clients and my patients the way I want to be treated in case I would need a PT. And I also need to hustle because, this girl just gotta pay the bills.
Yeah.
And I made sure that my businesses is also a passion of mine. So activewear because I want to be active, and I also want girls or women like me to be active. And in Ellie-Wear, I cater versatile pieces, so you can also use it not only for working out or swimming, but you can also dress it down and dress it up for OOTDs. So we are pushing sustainable fashion here.
Yes, period. Okay, so I've also heard na you've joined several pageants. So what's something that you've learned from it the most?
I joined Miss PT. I also joined Miss Intrams, Miss Ateneo Diamond, and my latest pageant was Miss CDO way back 2017. I honestly learned a lot from it, but it's more about what I applied. My parents would always remind me to invest more on substance rather than beauty, and that's something I live by now. And indeed, I applied it during the pageant because you can never compete with someone else.
Yeah.
Well, personally, I don't want anyone to compete with me because I want you to win too.
Yeah.
So it basically taught me to compete with myself, compete with the past version of myself. So it's not really about vanity, but how you handle the pressure when you are in the field of beauty pageants.
Yeah, so y'all gotta take note, because I think Miss Meg is such an inspiration to the listeners right now. So, to get more personal, I'm just curious. Based on personal experience or first-hand witness, what are instances and events that violate the rights of a girl child, or when you were a girl child?
For everyone's information, I am the unika iha and the middle child of 3. So I could really say that, I'm the only rose among the thorns, and my parents were really overprotective with me. I guess one experience would be during college. I've always wanted to move out at a young age. I wanted to be independent because I have this thinking in order to help my parents at a young age, because of course I wasn't earning anything back then. In order to help them is to take good care of myself so they would have one less problem or one less child to worry about. But as much as I thought that way, it didn't happen because although they kind of worry less about me, they still stress about me. So I wanted to go to school in Manila or in Cebu.
Yeah.
But being the girl, the only kaiham, my parents didn't bother entertaining the thought. I've always wanted to be independent. I wanted to go to good schools, but they didn't because I'm a girl. They'd always say that I'm a girl, and I always tell them I didn't choose to be a girl.
Yeah.
There are days I honestly didn't choose to be alive though, but much more to be a girl. So I feel like my opportunities were limited. Don't get me wrong, although I know that everything I am now was because of everything that happened before, all the decisions, but I can't help but to think maybe there's more opportunities if I had been able to go elsewhere.
Given that like experience, like how did you address like not being admitted to a school na you've always wanted to go to?
I always see things in a different perspective. So my parents would always remind me, there's a reason why you entered into this school or this course. And I shifted my mind into always seeing the silver lining. Maybe there's a purpose. And indeed, there was. I've grew up as an ugly duckling. And because of physical therapy, when I entered the College of PT in Liceo, I was given the opportunity to represent my batch in the Miss PT, and it led to one pageant into another, and I guess it's safe to say that it opened a lot of opportunities, although it's not what I thought it would be, like having to go to school into a different city. But everything happens for a reason, and I don't want to think of the what ifs, or I don't want to resent my parents because I know they did what they can as best as they can.
Yeah, so okay, thank you so much for that. Well, going back to when you were really a girl child, can you recall a memory you had as a girl child that made you the woman you are today?
I guess it would be being an outcast, or like people wouldn't allow me to play certain games because I was a girl. But then the more it challenged me and the more it fueled the adventurous person that I am today. And it pretty much did me good. Although if you were a child, you wouldn't understand why would people exclude you. You wouldn't understand the thought or the idea of gender or gender equality. It would always be because he's the brother, he's the kuya, he's the eldest, or like they are guys. I wasn't allowed to play with guy toys and stuff, but guys are allowed to play cooking with me.
Yeah, so speaking of inclusion, so do you think girls' rights should be equally important as women's rights?
Of course, because a girl would grow up eventually to be a woman, and if you establish the rights or the idea of what the girl can do, they would grow up into be an effective woman, because it always starts at a young age. So the difficult thing or the challenge we are facing right now is women need to be reminded of what we are capable of doing. Or as women, as grown-ups, we are still trying to remind ourselves of that. So imagine if you were still a kid, you were already established, or your foundation is based on what you are capable of doing. The sky's the limit, you can do this. So I think we should stop saying na babae ka kasi. Babae ako, hindi babae lang.
Yeah. So okay, how do you think should we teach these girls to recognize and fight for their rights even at a young age?
I guess not to limit to girls, but as individuals per se, or it's for you and I, so okay, then for girls, I think it's about knowing what our rights is. It should be at a very young age, and we shouldn't exclude them. For example, if we are in a gathering and then the adults are talking, I honestly experienced that my parents or my grandparents would let the apos go to the sala because they're gonna have an adult talk. If you want to raise effective adults, it should start as kids. So you should include them to conversations, difficult conversations, or be open to taboo topics. Since unfortunately Filipinos, I think I'm gonna get hate from this, but Filipinos act conservative but actually is in the borderline liberated. So we need to guide the younger generation so that they won't be misled or misguided. Because the reason why a lot of girls or a lot of younger generations get lost, quote unquote, lost in life is because they have no one to guide them. Because there are a lot of taboo topics. For example, speaking my mind. At a young age, I always get scolded for that. Whenever I use my voice to communicate, it's perceived as disrespectful because I'm still a girl.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful to talk back when in fact you are supposed to educate or to teach me how to talk in a respectable manner, in the way that I am able to convey my thoughts as respectful as can be. But since as a girl child, I am dubbed as disrespectful. So I grew up with suppressed thoughts and emotions that I need to deal with, or I need to reparent myself and validate myself for it.
Yes, I think everyone can relate to that since it's very common. So, in a more general sense, what existing challenges do you think young girls are facing right now here in our country?
I think that would be being bullied in social media.
Yeah.
Or, well, not only for girls, like eventually when you grow up to be a woman, there will be more opinions about you. I think social media and the internet plays a huge role with the generation now. There's a good and bad thing about it. Although as grown-ups, we have a huge responsibility in leading the way. There's always a path for everyone. But I think when a girl looks up to someone, I think they should establish a good example or a good role model, especially in proper usage of the internet. Because now there's no filter. Like honestly, I think there's gonna be a lot of beeps here, but I tried searching for the color nude, and I kid you not, a lot of nude photos came out, which I'm so surprised because how is this so readily available with just one keyword?
Yeah.
And I think the girls should be aware of their body as well, like the parts that is foul to touch, because there are people, unfortunately, at a young age, that they didn't know it's already bad, or there's no boundaries. And I heard a lot of stories that it came from the relatives or the close family members. So I think we need to educate the girls about that.
Yeah, it's kind of sad how it's kind of like normalized right now, which in fact it should be addressed legally with them.
Exactly.
So, how do you think can our government, speaking of legal, how can our government and the civil society help in addressing these problems?
Well, it all boils down to proper education. Be open to younger girls about taboo topics. There's nothing to hide. This is all anatomy. Eventually, we will all learn this and be exposed to this. What I just want people to understand is the earlier the better.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying at 3 years old you need to educate one, but at least at the age when the girl would have the mind for her own mind or her own say, to be educated about taboo topics, be open about things, and to have someone or an org that she could vent out to about topics. Because I heard a lot of stories when there's this girl who experienced certain things below the belt, and she had to hide it for a lot of years because no one would believe her. Mm-hmm. And another is for LGUs or party lists to really exert extra effort to go school to school, educate that. I think that's probably doable, or even like to task the higher levels or like the high schoolers or college women to educate, or to go to grade schoolers to educate. It all boils down to proper education.
Yeah, I think there are several party lists who give attention to these kind of cases, but it's just that, it's not
enough.
Yeah, it's not enough. So, I think this is the most personal question for this episode.
Drum roll!
Yes, drum roll. So, if you would be given a chance to go back in time and talk to yourself as a girl child, what message do you think she needs to hear from her older self?
Yeah,
I know, right?
I guess at first I would give the old or the little Meg a hug and a pat on the back, because what she went through in elementary and high school and even in college and even post-grad was so difficult that she sometimes think that maybe she was too young to experience all those. But now she is able to achieve her ultimate goals, be able to live up to her purpose, and I guess I'm proud of you is an understatement, but I just want to remind the little Meg that she did what she had to do at a young age. And growing up, it took a lot of courage and strength to continue, even on the days when she doesn't feel like waking up, even on the days when she felt defeated, even on the days when nothing made sense. And I just want to say to the listeners as well that when life doesn't seem to go well, it gets better. And trust me, it gets better. There are days when you may feel it doesn't, but it still gets better. And I hope the old Meg is proud of who I am today, because I did what I had to do, and I made sure to pursue whatever I'm called to do without stepping on anyone else, despite being defeated a lot.
Well, it's so warm. Yeah. I can't believe that you're not crying right now. I think that as cliche as it sounds, everything happens for a reason.
Exactly.
So,
but sometimes I can't help think that maybe the old Meg was too young. But then I always go back to see things into a different perspective. Maybe I had to go through all those tough times. So right now I am able to talk about my experiences and inspire as much as I can.
Yeah, truly, by providing the younger females with proper upbringing, educated ladies may not only enhance their own lives but also brighten the future of the nation.
Exactly.
A woman's perspective is widened and her freedom of thinking is increased through education. And this also helps her understand her obligations and duties, especially since we are already in an age of information. So we must protect them at all costs and nurture them for themselves and their future as well.
Yeah, I also commend you guys for going an extra mile to find ways to educate younger girls. And indeed, you mentioned that we are in the age of information, and I also think we need to take advantage of that instead of using it for something wrong or something bad, something harmful. I think we need to shift, because I'm not sure if you noticed, the older generation think our generation is too lazy, too privileged, but I think we need to take that into our advantage, into our strength. People dub our generation to be lazy, then it just means we find ways to do tasks easier. Or we are in the age of information or social media, then we need to utilize social media to reach as many as we can. So it all boils down to perspective.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Miss Meg, for being with us. Other than that, do you have anything else to say to your viewers or even plug?
Well, thank you to you guys for having me. I enjoyed this talk. Please to support my rehab, Fix Rehab Physiotherapy Services. We cater to athletes, stroke patients, neurological patients, scoliosis, and other clients who are in pain. Yes, let me fix you. Hey! And please do check out my small business, Aliwear Activewear. I recently released a new collection, so I'm selling versatile activewear. And please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, OK Meg, and listen to my podcast, Whip, What's Your Perspective?
Okay, again, thank you so much, Miss Max. Speaking of local businesses, we'd also like to thank the Tienda CDO for being one of the sponsors for this episode. And so, this ends our episode for the United Nations Day of the Girl Child. Again, catch you on the next one.